Hey, what's going on, guys? This is CJ Money. I am glad to be back. I have been a little busy with a couple of life events, um, but yeah, I'm not going to get into that. Anyways, so I just wanted to um, have this video about 13 forbidden islands. So these are places around the world that you probably don't want to go to. And in the video, we're going to talk about the reasons why. Um, I had seen an article about this, and I thought it was pretty interesting. Um, I don't think I will ever leave the country, to be honest with you. I've been to Canada, but as an American in this economy, I'm probably not going anywhere else, to be honest with you. Anyways, so let's get started. So the first island is a place called Clipperton Island. I'm reading off of my notes here. It's a 2.3, so 2 1/3 square mile atoll in the northern region of the Pacific Ocean. So that's between what would be considered, um, where Hawaii, Midway, and all the Southeast Pacific Islands north of that. So between that and the Bering Strait, which is the area between eastern Russia, so Siberia, and Alaska. Uh, so this island was named after an 18th century, so the 1700s, a pirate named John Clipperton. This guy established the island as his hideout. This was his place to go after he's done his looting and pillaging as a pirate. Once disputed over between France and Mexico, however. Interesting how Mexico is involved in this, as well as France, especially in the Pacific. But anyways, until 100 Mexican men, women, and children lived there until the year 1915 to escape World War One. Okay, well, that makes a little bit more sense, but I digress. All men but one had perished. Sucks. That one man is a guy named Victoriano Alvarez. He proclaimed himself as the ruler of the surviving inhabitants. So he's a sole survivor. He's saying, "I'm gonna be this. I'm gonna be the guy. You know, I'm gonna be the one that sets the boundaries, tell everybody right from wrong, etc." Um, kind of a superiority complex, if you will. He proclaimed himself as the ruler, instilling an infamous reign of terror. So he took that, and he obviously didn't push it into a positive direction. Luckily, he was killed by one of the deemed subordinates, people below him, supposedly. And the remaining supervisors were picked up by the USS Yorktown. The island has been under control of the French since then. Pretty interesting. So obviously this is a murder scene, but some may argue was justified. All right. So the next one is okay. So keep in mind can't speak tonight. Most of these islands are in the Pacific, so keep that in mind. This next one is a place called Tikopia. It's a little smaller than Clipperton. 1.9 square mile island in the eastern end of the Solomon Islands in the Pacific. Roughly populated to be around 1,200 people, but the circumstances are dire. Family planning for a time was strict. So, for example, only the eldest son of each family is permitted to father children. So only the eldest can have children. Unwanted pregnancies are prevented or aborted. So they were obviously in favor of abortion if it was unwanted. Parents became celibate as soon as eldest son is old enough to marry. After a bad harvest or a typhoon, fathers and sons head out towards sea in a canoe and never return. So actually, that is very depressing to think about. I digress. Continue on. Unmarried people commit suicide. Commit suicide by hanging Um, wow. They ain't kidding when they say it was strict. And this one, this last example, I don't suggest listening to if you don't have a strong stomach. Uh, Newborns could be deposited under a leaf in the snow, white, like snow white, powdery sand, as if they'd never existed. So a mother or a father could put their newborn under the sand and just leave them there to die. Okay, moving on. These harsh measures were the methods used to relieve population pressure until the religion of Christianity was introduced in 1858. Yeah, pretty dark. I'm not gonna lie, pretty dark. All right, so this one's a little creepy. This one's actually off the coast of San Francisco. It's a place. Excuse me. It's a place called the Farallon, however you pronounce that, islands. It's a stretch of islands about 30 miles offshore from the city of San Francisco, California, the United States. The article that's the source of this information, it explains what happened to a computer scientist, a guy named Jim Gray. He set out on his boat to spread his mother's ashes. So his mother must have recently passed away, and he was intent on spreading her ashes in this area. Don't know why, but moving on. That day, he had disappeared about midday. It's about noon, 1 in the afternoon, about that time, with complete radio silence confirmed at noon. Okay, so like I just said, 5 years later, he was declared dead as a result of unsuccessful search and rescue attempts. So they've been looking around for this guy for 5 years and said, forget it. This guy is somewhere good as dead. However, the natives, so the Native American or indigenous tribes of California, that area, referred to these islands as the Islands of the Dead, to be cheesy, or as cheesy as that sounds. They believe the spirits of those who had passed resided there and avoided ever approaching the location for that reason. In 1603, so actually about the time of the French coming to America, a Spanish expedition gave the islands their name, after writing of seeing 7 farallones, however you pronounce that, close together. The term, or that term, I'm not going to bother saying it again, means cliff in Spanish. In 1909, so 3 centuries later, American President Theodore Roosevelt proclaimed these islands the home of a wildlife refuge for seals and seabirds. But unfortunately, post-World War II, so the late 40s and into the 50s, the Atomic Energy Commission had used the islands as a dumping ground for radioactive waste. However you feel on that, that's up to you. But as far as I'm concerned, we shouldn't even be tampering with that sort of thing. I digress. 50,000 steel drums of hazardous material, to be exact. In addition, the hull of the USS Independence was scuttled there, even though its cargo was radioactive material and its purpose was testing. The EPA believed detoxification of the site would prove extremely risky and potentially a failure if attempted, so the location has been closed to the public. So they're not even going to bother trying to detoxify the area because they deem it too risky to even try. That should obviously say how dangerous it is. But this next island had or at least it's known for a very gruesome incident in World War II. It's a place called Ramree Island. It's an island just off the western coast of Burma, in Southeast Asia, where a military operation in World War II led to a gruesome incident with alligators. Yep, you guessed it. I'm sure you've heard of the Ramree Island Massacre. So, in 1945, so this is near the end of the war, Operation Matador was conducted by the British and their Indian allies. So, India was still part of the British Commonwealth at that time, landing and advancing inward. They encircled the Japanese, so, the Japanese being part of the Axis, into a mangrove swamp infested with massive saltwater crocodiles. And this is basically the incident. Multiple Japanese soldiers were attacked, mutilated, and in some cases consumed by these crocodiles. Very, very gruesome way to go. So, not a great time if you're a Japanese soldier in that situation, because you have the British and their allies coming from one end, and then you have man-eating crocodiles on the other. Yeah, great odds, right? But anyways, so the next island is a place called Sable Island. It's actually a fairly decent-sized island. It's a 26-mile-long island, 120 miles east of Canada. So it's somewhere in the North Atlantic. Uniquely, this island moves naturally as a result of hurricanes, nor'easters. So nor'easters is they are the term's given because it's a storm that happens in the northeastern region of the United States, and three competing wind forces. The island had been dubbed the Graveyard of the Atlantic due to the highest point no higher than 90 feet above sea level, and the cool, wet climate turns the island to a barely visible structure for about 130 days out of the year. In the past 400 years, an estimated 350 vessels have run aground here on its sandbanks, which leaves only their erect masts protruding from the dunes, and more than 10,000 sailors have perished under the water. The only inhabitants of the island are 500 known wild horses. So it's just kind of just like, yep, this is a place where many ships have run aground and a lot of people die as a result. But we got wild horses, so that's cool. They're actually descendants of those brought there about 300 years prior. So the next one is Grunard, or Groinard, however you pronounce it, island. It is a small island off the coast of Scotland. If you're from Scotland, please feel free to say so from the chat. I have a little bit of Irish in my blood, but I'm dominantly Italian, Italian-American. Anyways, the site of testing for anthrax in World War II, which left it uninhabitable for over 40 years. So anthrax is it's a deadly viral bacterium, and a particular strain bred by the British is it was called Volum. I think it's a 5-digit number, 14578. So the land eventually was decontaminated by using 280 tons of formaldehyde. Great, right? That only makes you wonder, how could that be possible? That's like putting Clorox in a bleach dispenser. Anyways, some speculation states that there may be still spores present in the soil due to its resilience. Geez, I wonder why. If the anthrax was utilized in biological warfare methods, this is the speculation of its use, much of Europe would have been devastated for several decades. They ain't joking. Let alone it being a serious violation of the Geneva Protocol. So it would have been a major war crime. The next one, these are kind of small descriptions of the islands, so just bear with me. The next one is Diego Garcia. It is the largest landmass located in the Chagos Archipelago in the central Indian Ocean, of all places. The island has been inhabited by the United States Navy for the past 6 years. This one's a little secretive due to its military presence. Rumors, primary accounts, and certain evidence have suggested that the site is actually a center for rendition and torture programs for interrogation of suspected extremists, although these allegations have been adequately denied. So it's kind of like Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, or at least what used to be. Uh, so the next one is uh, Vustro, however you pronounce that. God, I'm terrible at pronunciations. Anyways, this peninsula extends into the Baltic Sea, northeast of the German city. So it's somewhere northeast of Germany, of Rostock. It has been dubbed the Forbidden Island, as a result of undisposed munitions left behind by the dissolving Soviet Russian army. So this is how Germany was divided into half in the Cold War. You had the democratic Western Germans, then you had the communist East Germans. So this would have been somewhere above East Germany. So the task fell to the German government, the unified German government, spending millions to do so, to get rid of these munitions. 1,700 acres were never handled over 6 to 7 years, and the land is privately owned but entirely uninhabitable. So it's an entire island that is home to several weapons and ammunition and what have you. Privately owned. No one lives there. Snake Island. This is the next one. So I had heard about this one on a YouTube video. In layman's terms, this is an island entirely inhabited by multiple species of snakes. There has been a couple people who dared to go there, and I think one guy was bit, and well, that was the end of him. But anyways, so Snake Island is the nickname given to this place for its two species of snakes that slither across the land, known as Ilha de Queimada Grande, a 430,000 square meter island off the coast of Brazil, isolated from the mainland for 11,000 years. Disease, habitat loss, and poaching has reduced the population over time, but their very presence still prohibits human intervention. I'm sure that these two species are poisonous when they bite, the fangs. All right, so this next one is Surtsey. It's a volcanic island near Iceland. So go figure. Iceland is full of volcanoes. Named after a fire giant from Norse mythology. Today, erosion has lowered the highest point to just over 500 feet and reduced its surface area to half a square mile. But the island is expected to remain for years to come. Only a few scientists are permitted to set foot on the land, but is not open to the general public due to it being established as a nature reserve, home to several animal and plant species. So essentially, it's a refuge for scientific studies, but generally close to the public. The next island is Santa Cruz del Islote. It is a man-made structure. This one's actually kind of cool. A man-made structure created by coral, stone, and debris. Roughly 150 years ago, fishermen from the archipelago of San Bernardo off the coast of Colombia, so this is South America, began building a mound of stones, shells, and debris in the water at a low tide. The artificial island grew to become a refuge during storms or just a place overnight. Today, about 1,200 people live here, making it the most densely populated island in the world. Pretty cool, huh? North Brother Island. This is located 2,500 feet from Rikers Island. You guessed it, New York City. This island was the site of Riverside Hospital in 1885, a facility housing patients isolated because of severe diseases. This was kind of the dawn of the immigration period, when people from all around the world were coming to America through Ellis Island or Prince Edward's Island in Canada. Um, the island had actually become a bird sanctuary in the 1960s and has been uninhabited since. So I'm sure people will say it's haunted. Maybe. Who knows? So the final island that I will mention here. Uh, this one, I'm not so bad with Japanese pronunciations. This one's Miyakejima, an island 110 miles south of Tokyo. Deemed a vacation spot, but advises a hazardous area due to the active volcano that has emitted toxic amounts of sulfur dioxide when it had erupted several times before. So this is a formerly active, if not still active, volcano. Um, it seems like a vacation spot apparently, but there's still a risk if it becomes active again, or if it's still active and it erupts. The Japanese authorities will be like, okay, time to go. But, anyways, so those are the 13 forbidden islands. If you know of any other places, any creepy places, dangerous, what have you, please feel free to leave a comment, and I would love to look it up and maybe even do a video about it in the future. But I'm going to be doing my next couple videos here, touching more into just general history topics. So have a great night, everybody, or a great day wherever you live. This has been CJ Money out.